Why choice exists formally but disappears in practice. Choice is one of the most repeated words in modern societies. We are told we are free because we can choose. Choose a job, choose a platform, choose a belief, choose a future. And on paper, this is true. Options exist, menus are visible, alternatives are listed.
But something subtle happens between having options and exercising real freedom. Because while choice exists formally, it often disappears in practice. This is not because systems openly remove choice. Modern systems rarely do that. Instead, they redesign what choice means.
They allow selection, but they control consequences. They allow preference, but they define outcomes. They allow movement, but only within predefined corridors. The result is not coercion. It is compliance without force. In controlled systems, choice becomes procedural. You are free to choose as long as your choice remains compatible with the system. This is the first illusion. You can select between options, but you cannot question why those options exist, who designed them, or which options were excluded before you arrived. The menu feels neutral, but it is already curated. Consider how many decisions appear voluntary, yet lead to the same destination. Different paths, same endpoint. This is not coincidence. It is design. Controlled systems do not need to dictate behavior directly. They only need to make certain choices easier, safer, rewarded, and others costly, invisible, or exhausting. Over time, behavior converges, not because people are forced, but because deviation becomes inefficient. This is how freedom narrows without ever being revoked. Another illusion lies in participation. Modern systems invite involvement. Feedback forms, user settings, preferences, customization. You are encouraged to feel included, but participation is not the same as influence. You may adjust parameters, but you cannot alter the structure. You may express dissatisfaction, but the system absorbs it as data, not dissent. Your response becomes input, not resistance. In this way, even disagreement is metabolized. The system does not need your approval. It only needs your engagement. Choice here becomes a mechanism of stabilization. It channels energy inward, away from structural change, toward controlled expression. This is the second illusion. You feel heard, but nothing fundamental shifts. Another layer of the illusion appears in responsibility. When outcomes are framed as results of personal choice, the system disappears from accountability. If you fail, you chose poorly. If you struggle, you didn't optimize correctly. If you fall behind, others simply made better decisions. Structural constraints fade into the background. Individual choice takes center stage. This framing is powerful, because when people blame themselves, they stop questioning the environment. The system becomes neutral, inevitable, unchangeable. Choice becomes a moral test instead of a structural condition. This is not accidental. By emphasizing choice, systems transfer responsibility downward while retaining control upward. You are free, and therefore alone. This is the third illusion: freedom without power. There is also the illusion of exit. We are told that if we dislike a system, we can leave it. Change platforms, change careers, change lifestyles.
But exit often leads to parallel systems built on the same logic, different interface, same structure. Weaving one controlled environment frequently means entering another that operates with identical assumptions. True exit would require alternatives that do not depend on the same incentives, the same metrics, the same hierarchies. Those alternatives are rare, not because they are forbidden, but because they are unsupported. Choice exists, but survival favors conformity. This is how systems persist without walls. No one is trapped, yet almost everyone stays. Another illusion is temporal. We are told we are choosing our future, planning, investing, preparing. But long-term options are often shaped by short-term constraints. Immediate survival pressures override abstract freedom. When time is scarce, choice collapses into urgency. You choose what is available now, not what is meaningful later. Systems that maintain constant pressure do not need to restrict freedom explicitly. They simply exhaust it. This is the fourth illusion. Freedom delayed until it no longer matters. At the core of all this is a misunderstanding of what choice actually is. Choice is not merely the presence of options, it is the ability to meaningfully affect outcomes. Without influence over structure, choice becomes cosmetic. Without the ability to refuse without penalty, choice becomes conditional. Without alternatives that are viable, choice becomes symbolic. Controlled systems understand this well. That is why they preserve the appearance of freedom while narrowing its substance. They do not tell you what to think, they shape what is thinkable. They do not command behavior, they optimize incentives. They do not suppress choice, they manage it. The most stable systems are not the most restrictive ones. They are the ones where people feel free while behaving predictably. This is not tyranny, it is administration, and it is effective. Recognizing the illusion does not immediately restore freedom. Awareness alone does not dismantle structure, but it changes where attention is directed. Instead of asking, "What should I choose?" the more dangerous question emerges. Who benefits from these options existing this way? Real freedom does not begin with selecting between paths. It begins with the ability to question why the paths exist at all. And that is the one choice most systems quietly discourage. Because once that question is asked, the illusion becomes visible, and control becomes harder to maintain.